About the tunnels, I understand you had some experience with these tunnels.
I personally experienced a few of the tunnels in Rafah. Of course they are frightening because they are small, dark and tight, and some of them they can be as long as 1 kilometer because they had to build more to bring some essentials of food and nutrition for their families because of the blockade, because the border is so close between the Rafah of Palestine and Rafah of Egypt. And the Egyptians, the local villagers, they helped them to give them some food through the tunnels. And I experienced crawling in one of them with one of the teenagers to see how it feels, and it's quite frightening to obtain food and medicine through such a narrow tunnels.
Now, the Israelis charge these tunnels are to bring in weapons into Gaza, and they bomb the tunnels. What do you think of this charge?
My observation was the opposite, because there is such a tremendous shortage of medicine and food and essentials of life that I think weapons are the last thing they can think of.
Now, you were there for how long again?
16 days.
And what is the morale of the people there? Do they feel abandoned by the world?
Yes, a majority of the Gazans, they think that the universal family of the whole world has forgotten them, and they have been abandoned, and some imperialist powers they have got united to each other, and they have put a siege on them by force against their will, and all they want is basics of life, including water, food, medicine, shelter, education, and growing up with their own families with the primitive lifestyle that they have.
Now, let's put in another charge. The Israelis will say your delegation and others are maybe well-meaning, but are naive. You're just giving aid to Hamas terrorists. What do you say to that?
That's absolutely wrong, because Hamas, from what I saw over there, is elected by Palestinians, by Gazans, and they are a part of the people. And people look at them as their own neighbors and sons and daughters and brothers, and I did not notice any differentiation over there. Mostly people are willing to accept us, and they gave us 2 houses to stay in, one in Rafah for 1 week, another one in Gaza City for 1 week, and these were ordinary people.
Would you recommend this for other people? There's talk of other delegations going over there, from the Norman Finkelstein people, from Galloway again.
I would encourage every human being, if they have a chance, to go for themselves. They call upon other friends, classmates, neighbors, neighborhoods, get together, and more delegations. If they go, the plan is to open up the Rafah for their forever and never allow it to close again.
We could end here, but I just realized I didn't ask you, as a doctor, did you witness the medical procedures going on in the hospitals or in medical areas, and do they have enough supplies? Those kind of questions.
They are suffering from extreme shortage of supplies. They have wonderful, phenomenal volunteer doctors, highly educated, within Gaza and outside of Gaza, in Egypt, in Europe, from all countries of the world. And they were very receptive to us, and they are receptive to more humanitarian needs and medical supplies. They are working with primitive manners that they are, because of the thousands of number of amputees that they have. Unfortunately, they are building very primitive artificial limbs like 50 years ago with the same machines, but they are still with a good morale. They are building them, and they are making them fit to the youngsters that they have lost their limbs, that they can survive.
You bring up the amputees. You know, usually we think about wars and how many people died, but of course the injuries are a huge part of it too. And I understand there's many amputees, double amputees, even some triple amputees.
The amputees, to my eyes as a physician, they are uncountable, because the majority of them are young, therefore they can continue their lives because they are so young and powerful, but they are missing limbs, the upper limbs or the lower limbs, and as you mentioned, single amputee, double amputee, or even worse. And they are all waiting, you know, with malnutrition, and women are suffering from anemia and deficiency. Children are suffering from loss of hearing because of the supersonic flights that happens frequently, especially over the city of Rafah.
Was any of that happening while you were there?
Of course, every single night.
Describe what that's like.
Well, when they fly, you hear them, you wake up in the middle of the night, which is the purpose. And when they drop bomb, even in the non-residential areas, the shakes alone, it can really shatter your emotions and your sleep, and it can create extreme anxiety, fear, and I can easily say all Gazans are suffering from emotional trauma.
Sarah, when were you in the Gaza Strip?